Ronnie Coleman, I think he has like maybe 2 million followers. Come on, he's the king. Ronnie will always be the king.
Many remember Flex Wheeler as one of the greatest names in bodybuilding history. Despite never winning an Olympia, his opinion holds merit in the world of bodybuilding. So what kind of relationship did Wheeler and Ronnie the King Coleman have, and what does Wheeler have to say about him? Let's find out. Flex Wheeler's effect on Ronnie Coleman. For most bodybuilders, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the epitome of success. He carved a path for younger generations to follow and channelized his interests to become one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. However, others stepped up. One name that comes to mind is Ronnie Coleman. Winning 8 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles, fans imagined Arnold to play a significant role in his stardom. But there was another legend etched into his mind. To some, he is a myth, while for others, he defined modern bodybuilding. Despite not winning any Mr. Olympia titles, Kenneth Flex Wheeler stays on top as the finest bodybuilder in the sport. Even Arnold mentioned his impact, and Coleman described how he was the best he faced. Therefore, Flex Wheeler deserves special mention. Coleman started bodybuilding at age 24, and he had an all-natural body. During those times, bodybuilders had the liberty to take steroids. For starters, Coleman never used steroids in the beginning. Seeing the advantages, he started taking them as it was legal for bodybuilders to use them. Nonetheless, Flex Wheeler introduced him to various aspects of bodybuilding that propelled him to achieve greatness. He said, "That's one of my best friends in the world. He taught me everything I know." Conditioning went hand in hand, and he became toned more than most bodybuilders. At the time, Coleman kept a body fat percentage of 0.33%. The level on the playing field was apparent as he dominated Mr. Olympia's contests from start to finish. The effect Flex Wheeler had on Coleman was immense. He was a 4-time Arnold Classic winner and had a symmetrical body that was second to none. To add another purple feathers to his cap, Wheeler shifted his attention to martial arts after bodybuilding. A legendary rivalry. Knowledgeable bodybuilding fans consider Flex to be the best of the best, not just for aesthetic purposes, but as a bodybuilder in general. If you lined up all the pro bodybuilders from all the different eras and put them all in one room, you would be very hard-pressed to not pick Flex as having the greatest body. He was everything bodybuilding represented, size and detail with very few weaknesses. At the time, many journalists felt that it wasn't a matter of if, but when Wheeler would seize the crown. That coronation was expected to be the 1998 Olympia, the first year since Yates' retirement. In a shock heard around the bodybuilding world, Wheeler placed second to a lesser-known bodybuilder named Ronnie Coleman, who had finished 9th place the previous year. Wheeler's rematch came the following year in 1999, but Coleman won again.
We knew it was going to happen. I mean, the year before that, me and Ronnie have always been super close. Some guys you just know, I ain't going to never like you and I don't care and I want you to know. That's one thing a lot of people didn't know. Ronnie turned pro and competed as a pro naturally for a long time.
What followed was one of the more awkward scenes in the sport's history. Upon hearing his name called for second place, Wheeler turned his back to the crowd as Coleman fell to the floor in tears of joy. Boos rang throughout the Mandalay Bay Arena in Las Vegas. Wheeler was awarded a silver medal by late bodybuilding journalist Peter Magot, awkwardly let Magot raise his hand and then promptly remove the medal from his neck. Ever since, a legendary rivalry ensued, and despite being one of the best, Flex Wheeler never managed to bag an Olympia. Despite all their history, they are still great friends, and Wheeler had quite a bit to say about him in some interviews. Flex Wheeler at his peak. Sultan of Symmetry. At his peak, Wheeler weighed 225 to 253 pounds and stood at 5'7". He had 24-inch arms and a 56-inch chest, while his tremendous ability to do splits earned him the moniker Flex. Managing only a second-place finish in the 1993 bodybuilding contest, he won various other competitions. He was a 5-time Ironman Pro winner and a 4-time Arnold Classic winner, and has won the France Grand Prix, South Beach Pro Invitational, Night of Champions, and Hungarian Grand Prix. In sports, few titles change hands as infrequently as Mr. Olympia. Since the O's inception in 1965, only 16 men have held the title. That prestige, along with significant prize money, makes the Olympia the highest honor a competitive bodybuilder can receive. The athletes who earn the Sandow are cemented into the history of the sport. Wheeler is one of the legends who didn't win the big one, but is still considered among the best in the sport. Flex Wheeler had the best midsection in the game and had a chiseled body to go along with it. He had it all: size, mass, definition, proportion, and symmetry. He was often compared to near-perfect legends Steve Reeves and Bob Paris throughout his career, yet obtained a level of muscularity never before seen. It's just a shame that mass has consistently beat out definition at the O. The judges have always been more impressed with mass than perfection. Otherwise, Flex might have been right there with Lee Haney and Ronnie Coleman, holding the title for most Olympia titles ever won. In October of 2019, Wheeler suffered circulatory vascular issues that resulted in the amputation of the lower half of his right leg. Despite this, Wheeler documented his rehab and recovery on social media. At the 2020 Mr. Olympia, Wheeler received the inaugural Olympia Inspiration and Courage Award. Flex Wheeler overcomes his fears. Flex Wheeler sacrificed a lot during his time competing as an IFBB pro bodybuilder. In an interview with Flex Lewis, Wheeler reflected on battling adversity, his drive to be the best bodybuilder in the world, and the mental battles that followed his right leg amputation in 2019. During and after his bodybuilding tenure, Wheeler has unfortunately struggled with a litany of health issues. In 2019, blood clots and kidney failure led to the Open Pro finding himself in the hospital. Doctors informed Wheeler that his right leg would require partial amputation. Despite the procedure, he found himself in the hospital again for acute kidney failure last year while fighting a COVID diagnosis. Since then, Wheeler has continued to fight in spite of his poor health. He underwent back surgery earlier and a torn rotator cuff procedure on his shoulder, which resulted in an extended hospital stay and excruciating pain. But he never let it get him down, and that's why he is a legend. Flex Wheeler admitted he didn't stand a chance against Ronnie Coleman in 1999. The bodybuilding stage has witnessed several rivalries over the year. However, none as great and intense as that between Ronnie Coleman and Flex Wheeler. With an exceptional physique and fitness prowess, the two gave each other tough competition. Notably, the public gained quite an interest in their rivalry when Coleman finally defeated Wheeler at the Canada Cup. However, Wheeler was soon quick to make a comeback. He was all set to win the 1998 Mr. Olympia title, but repeating history, Coleman turned the tables by defeating the player who had beaten him 11 times. Leaving no room for the latter to score, Wheeler had come to terms with the brutal realization. When Coleman registered his 1998 Olympia win, Flex was determined to come back strong. In '98, Flex recalls Ronnie beating him by 2 points or something. So the next year, he was ready to close the gap. He felt he missed out somewhere and wanted to give his best this time around. Flex, as he quotes, was back with a lot better and a lot bigger, and I felt like I could close that gap. However, destiny had planned otherwise. In the following year, 1999, Ronnie did just not beat Flex for the second time in a row, but he left no room for Flex to work. Ronnie won with a perfect score. The perfect score made Flex realize that he is out of my reach. Despite the loss, Flex was comfortable that he won with a perfect score because that had not been the case. Then, like the previous time, it would have left him room to work out. As Wheeler explains, if it would be a 1-point difference, I would have thought harder. Thus, Ronnie's perfect score gave Flex no option other to accept that there's nothing that he can do. Before Coleman embarked on his journey to register 8 consecutive Mr. Olympia wins, he lost to Wheeler 11 out of 12 times over the first 7 years of his professional career. However, during the final 5 years, Coleman made sure never to lose to Flex. In 1998, Flex finished runner-up to Ronnie 3 times. The two displayed exceptional competitiveness and respect for each other on the stage.
Like I said, I don't think anyone's ever going to beat what Ronnie brought to the table. They might beat us. You can't take a best of all time pitcher and match it up against him and be defeated. And our friendship really, truly was tested when he turned around and beat me for the first time, because that's when he found out what was really going on, right?
Loved by the fans, the two never missed a chance to grab the limelight. It's been years since they retired, but to date, their tales of professional rivalry remain embedded in every fan's mind. That's all for today's video. See you next time.